I'm really excited for this bike because it's a puzzle. See, it's one of those rental bikes you can use with an app, so it's like a rolling kiosk, but its operator has gone out of business, leaving untold numbers of these bikes bricked. So when you say that you were trying to fix it, you mean you were trying to jailbreak it?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a fortress of security bolts, paywalls, and electronic locks. That's probably why it was sold to me for $75, despite costing something like $1,800 when it was new. Yes, this is actually a lot of bike. It's got a 3-speed internal gear hub, a super reliable belt drive, a hub motor, a big functional basket with a cup holder, and the easiest seat post clamp out there. When your auntie comes to town, this is the one you want to lend to her. It's dead simple and neglect tolerant. Plus, as a collector of weird bikes, a fleet bicycle like this one is kind of the holy grail. But to make it function, we need to jailbreak this bike, free it from the shackles of its now defunct fleet management software. And if you look closely at this bike and its sibling, it's evident someone else had a go at it without much luck. But we're gonna get it working because we have a secret weapon. All right, turns out we actually don't have a secret weapon. I figured we could Google image search this bike and figure out who really makes it, get some documentation, maybe a repair manual, but I think we're on our own. And like I said, it's a puzzle. What do you suppose this is? It's completely unmarked, and so customers are probably not using it. It's likely for a technician to access this battery. They take an access card, an RFID tag, and they wave it, and the battery pops out. With a little luck, maybe we can get this thing to trigger. Magnet? I think we're getting somewhere. These are really common connectors on e-bikes, and this 5-pin Gillette connector goes up towards where I think the latch would be. If there's an electronic switch in there, it likely contains an electromagnetic coil like this relay does. You can identify a coil with a multimeter. So if we set our multimeter to ohms and test the resistance of this coil, we're gonna get a really low reading. Yeah, we're getting 81 ohms, and by comparison, if I were to test the resistance of my tongue, there you go, a little over 1 million ohms. So what we're doing here is we're testing every combination of wires to see if we come up with a resistance indicative of a coil. Okay, when I test the white wire and the blue wire, I'm showing about 10 ohms. I can't imagine what else that could be. I'm feeling confident enough to get sketchy and test this with a battery. Okay, I don't think this battery is powerful enough, but I'm hearing a little click. Let's try a stronger battery. Ah, ha ha! And yeah, the battery's dead as a doornail. So I was right, but wrong. It's not a solenoid or something. You put the polarity one way, it latches the battery in, you switch it, and it lets the battery out. Well, we got the battery out, now I can charge it, and it looks like opening up this compartment gave us access to some other things. So very interesting discovery, the battery actually re-latches itself when you insert it. Oh yeah! So I'm gonna have to make a release for this thing, or we're gonna be doing that a lot. In the meantime, I'm gonna get this thing on the ground and see if I can figure out anything here with the screen. Okay. I know this sounds crazy, but there's a phone number here. It says, got a problem? We're here to help. I'm gonna try calling it.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again. Announcement.
All right, back to the previous plan. We're gonna start taking this thing apart to see if we can bypass it. Every bolt on this bike is security Torx, and the only thing secure about security Torx is that you need a different bit that you probably don't have. I got a set at Harbor Freight for $6 because I only own one security Torx bit, and there are a lot of different sizes on this bike. This thing is a fortress. Everything you take apart has something else behind it, and they're just big metal plates covering everything you might want to get to. it appears that this screen is actually the module that controls the whole bike. It's where everything connects. I'm labeling all the wires that I can identify and then just putting a number on the other one so when I disconnect this thing, I can connect it back up the way it was. So we've done quite a bit of exploratory surgery, poked around the bike, and I've labeled everything. All of these cables have been identified. And so I know for a fact we can get it working. If we replace the motor controller and the screen and run all sorts of extension cables around, we can make the bike work. But I don't want to do that if I don't have to. And so the question is there an easier way for us to do this? Let me show you what I found here. This guy right here is a brushless motor controller. The motor is connected to it, the lights are connected to it, and several other little things. And it's made by Tongsheng, which is a really popular company. They make a lot of e-bike stuff. Now there is one cable that runs from this controller up to the display, kind of a telematics unit that communicates with the mothership. That's what's telling this thing to not go. And so let's get tinkering. So if there's any prayer of getting this thing working without replacing the controller and the display and everything, I'm gonna have to rely on the knowledge of others because this is way over my pay grade. Supposedly, in some of these fleet e-bikes, there's one wire that tells that controller that it can power up. And in this Reddit thread, I'm seeing purple wire. That's the one that we need to power up. It's not the exact e-bike that's here, but it looks like it might be the same controller. So I don't know, the worst that can happen is I smoke something out that I was gonna replace anyway. So step one, we have to reconnect the display and this controller kind of loosely. We're gonna leave it all apart. So now we need to reconnect the battery, which is a little sketchy in this state, but without reconnecting the battery, we can't test to see which wire is which. Okay, our display has turned on. It says maintenance. Maybe I should reconnect everything and see if it doesn't say maintenance. Now we got our screen back on. All right, time to start poking around. Okay, so I found a power wire in here. It's reading 37 volts. And then there's this purple wire, and I don't know what to test on that. And so I'm gonna cut the purple wire, and we're gonna see if anything changes on that display. It is showing the exact same thing as before. That doesn't mean it's the right wire, but it's a good sign. Okay, here's the moment of truth. This white wire is connected to this alligator clip, and then I have this little probe here, and we're gonna go into the controller side. Let's see if there's any sparks. No, looks okay. Let's try the pedal assist. Okay, so it appears that did not work. Okay, I have been messing with this thing all day, and I hate to admit defeat, but it looks like I'm starting to burn stuff out. And so, I'm gonna order a controller and a screen. Okay, it's been a minute since we touched this thing. I forgot everything, but luckily I put some labels on it because I'm gonna have to connect this e-bike controller. Yeah, it's practically spring already. There's stuff popping up out of the ground. If you don't look after your future self in these situations, you will end up having to do the same work you did twice. And so I'm really glad there are labels on every single one of these things. But now I need to determine how much of this new controller is gonna just plug in and how many wires I'm actually gonna need to splice here. Our goal right now is to get the front wheel to spin. I'm not worried about making any of this neat or getting it put together properly. I'm just dry fitting it. Okay, this is kind of a moment of truth. I'm gonna try and get the front wheel to spin, which is where the motor is. So we're gonna connect the battery. Okay, we're gonna turn on this controller. And now I don't want to use the throttle, but I'm gonna use the throttle to test it. Okay, so the question is now, can I get this to work with pedal assist? It comes with this little sensor. We should be able to get it to do something, right? Yeah. It looks like we're gonna change the pedal assist sensor to the one that came with this kit, and this is how they want you to mount it. Not gonna work on this bike, and so I'm 3D printing a little mount for that little sensor to go into. While that's 3D printing, let's see if we can figure out what's going on with the belt drive. It is making creaking noises here, watch. And if you look closely, you can see when the belt makes its way onto the sprocket, it's binding up, it's making creaking noises. I think it's the tension of this belt here, but the problem is these nuts in the back are security nuts, and so we're gonna have to just use brute force. We're gonna use these little belt tensioners to actually put more tension on it to see if that improves things. Okay, important discovery. The back wheel is way out of alignment. I'm gonna take these security axle nuts and replace them with normal axle nuts to make my life a lot easier. We'll get this back into alignment and then go check on our 3D printed part. Look at that, smooth as can be. Now we can work on that pedal assist sensor. This is a pretty stout piece of plastic, and it's gonna go in a spot that doesn't get much abuse. This is not a mountain bike, it's gonna be rolling on the greenway. We're gonna clean this off with rubbing alcohol so it sticks real well, and then we're gonna heat it up. Oh yeah, we've got pedal assist. So now we have a few more things to sort out in here, including the lights and the battery latch. Both the headlight and the tail light terminate here with the same kind of plug. I actually have the male side here because I used to work on a lot of RC cars. And so we can just plug this in, hook it up to a little battery, and make sure the polarity is right. Yep, there she goes. Only problem is, come over here and look at this. This is the light plug from the harness. Looks nothing like those. We're gonna have to snip it off and make a harness so that we can unplug it easily if we ever have to work on it again. I have it powered up and I'm not getting any voltage on these lights. I'm wondering if there's some incredibly difficult menu I have to go in to turn these on. Deal power voltage level, backlight brightness, 40 volts, good. This bike is becoming a really big pain. The light outputs are 40 volts. That's not good because these lights are not 40 volts. They would burn out if I hooked them up to that. And that's the battery release working with a 9-volt battery. And my whole plan was to hook it up to the light output. So you turn on the bikes, you turn on the lights, and then you can release the battery or put the battery back in. I gotta order more stuff. That voltage reducer is gonna cost me $13 and I'll have it in a few days, but I won't be able to work on this again until a week from now. Wait, change of plans. My next door neighbor has a voltage reducer. He's an engineer who tinkers with a lot of stuff, and so we're back in business. All right. This is my multi-function wiring harness. Plugs into the light output right here. And then here we have our battery release. Connect the battery and hope we don't see smoke. This is what it looks like when I'm in way over my head. This morning, I spent about an hour and a half now trying to put this back together. The new controller is bigger than the last one, and I have all these additional wires, and so I can't get it all to fit back together, and it's not a matter of mashing hard enough. You could ground something out if you did that. Being in over your head is not fun. I've been here many times before, and oftentimes, you don't learn much, but it builds character. Okay, truth be told, I'm not worried about getting burned or starting a fire or anything like that. I'm more worried about negating all the work that we just did. Lights, yes. But do we have pedal assist? Yes! And a little wire rubbing over there, but that's okay. And now before I put the rest together, does this battery release work? I'm not gonna say anything. Okay, these two pieces are in, the wires are routed on the bottom. If I put the battery in and then the battery release doesn't work, I'm gonna have a problem. So let's put it in like a little bit. We're gonna latch the battery in. Okay, battery does not come out. Battery comes out. Let's put the front of the bike back together. If you remember, the bike had this screen that showed everything on it, and the screen fit into this thing on the dashboard. Meanwhile, our new e-bike controller comes with this screen, which is obviously not so good. I made this bezel. Snaps in here perfectly. Look at that. So I'm doing the very intuitive programming steps required to get it to show the right speed and miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. It also looks like this is a 14 amp motor, and so I'm going to limit the controller to 13 amps just to be safe. Maybe the most challenging episode of Flip Bike I've ever done. I have a lot of thoughts, but first, we've got to stare at this and test it. This was one of the most difficult bikes I've ever worked on, and a lot of that was my fault for getting the cheapest e-bike controller. But there was a reason for that. This bike cost me 75 bucks and I couldn't bear to spend more money on it than I paid for the freaking thing. So all told, we're really not in a lot of money on this bike, and we have a functional e-bike. It's got a belt drive, airless tires, the easiest seat post clamp ever made, a big basket to carry around stuff. And this is the ultimate collector's item if you like collecting bikes. I knew I had to have it, I knew I had to get it working, and I knew it'd be the perfect auntie bike. Yeah, I saw it on Facebook Marketplace and they had it for $75.
Get them both for 75 bucks?
No, I got them for $75 each. This is the perfect auntie bike. It's got a basket, it can hold your Stanley Cup.
That's pretty dope.
It's got a bell.
Do I have to pay?
You gotta scan that QR code. It's gonna take you to my website and you gotta pay.
Do you have a website? You gotta make a website for this.
I should make a website for that.
All right, let's see what it does. It says 0 miles. Is it not reading the odometer?
It's gonna kick in and send you through the door. Front wheel drive? Yes, it's front wheel drive, dude. Oh, you're doing me dirty.
A little bit of burnout. Whoa, what? This is the most amount of like power lag I've ever experienced.
Oh yeah, that's because I got the cheapest controller ever made. In a moment, we're gonna break down what was actually done here, but first we should pose a serious question. Does this video contain dangerous and harmful information? Is it a tutorial for stealing fleet e-bikes? I don't think so. It's more like proof that it's not worth your time. Forget that we didn't successfully hack the existing electronics. This exact model of bike is not currently in operation to my knowledge, and if it was, you'd need to do all the things that I did to get it working again. The bike was designed to work with an app that you pay for, but its operator went out of business, turning these into doorstops, yet the security features were still in place, including an electronically activated latch that secures the battery. So I forcefully pried the sensor off the down tube, cut the plug, and energized the wires for the latch. With access to the controller and the head unit, we found that they communicate with each other in a dead language. So I bought a new brushless motor controller with a screen for $86. Indeed, a price I could barely stomach to revive a $75 bike. We then replaced the controller, installing new plugs where necessary, and even 3D printing a mount for the new pedal assist sensor. We installed a two-way polarity reversing switch for the battery release, and upon discovering that the light output was at the full voltage of the battery, we installed a voltage reducer for the lights and that latch. We also made a 3D printed bezel to fit the new screen into the dashboard. We painstakingly routed the wires such that they would fit in this new, more crowded iteration of this bike. We then put it all back together and made it look like it came from a villainous and scummy hive far from North Carolina. Between the bike, the controller, the voltage reducer, and miscellaneous parts, we're still south of $200 in materials. But this was time-consuming. Was it worth it? Well, this bike has cool alloy mag wheels, a durable basket, an awesome seat post clamp, pedal assist, and a belt drive. It also has a 3-speed Sturmey Archer hub, and it looks insane. It's a fleet e-bike, it has a story, and it'll actually come in handy when family is in town and we ride the bikeway with my kids. Thanks for keeping me company while tinkering with this bike. I hope you learned something today, and if you didn't, I hope you still found this video entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.